Good afternoon, soon to be evening again, folks. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. Of course, we're getting back to the horrible world known as the JRC, but before we do the disclaimers, in a small moment of me just being, as usual, the queen of TMI, I'm going to try as much as humanly possible to make this final video for tonight as quick as humanly possible because I really got to use the bathroom, but I also really want to get this done because it is my book night, folks, and Tolkien is calling me. Just saying. All right, final sentence. Probably me doubling down once again on the video I just did previously. GED treatment has been so successful that EO has been safe while faded from the GED devices during portions of his family visits. The JRC is never, at any point in time, ever going to acknowledge the existence of the autistic mask. This is in spite of being so-called experts and having spent numerous decades in the field. The reason why they don't acknowledge masks and the fact that they exist, and the fact that we will indeed utilize them, and convincingly so, to try to spare ourselves suffering, if it's not something else like when I have to network. Yay, that's coming up too. Thanks, February. I sound so enthused. But it is in the case that we are trying to end sub-minimum wage. If you want to know what that is all about in regards to that fight, go on to my channel. You should see a 3-video workshop that I did in regards to sheltered workshops and sub-minimum wage and why it needs to go the way of the dodo. So you can go ahead and take a look at that. We finally, after multiple years, have got it on the Missouri Senate floor, and we'll see how that goes. But anyways, to the topic at hand. The reason why places like the JRC will never acknowledge the existence of the autistic mask is because it harms them to do so. They use the existence of the autistic mask as a way to bluff parents into believing that their punishment model works. See, if they can present to them over a short period of time, their son or daughter, they, them, however they wish to identify themselves, if they can present them in such a way that people see what they want to see, if these parents will buy into the mask, then the JRC can make these people believe that the fantasy is real. Okay? And that it's because of the JRC, the mask that we are projecting, that it's all their hard work. The punishment model works. Look, they're doing all the things autistic human beings loathe to do with the entirety of their soul, and they're engaging in it willingly. They look happy, they look well, they're not overweight, they're engaging with you. And look, they can even go on prolonged outings and vacations with families. And they're smiling, they're engaging, they're being social. Again, because if they ever have to be forced to acknowledge that as a matter of fact, no progress has actually been made whatsoever. If they are ever finally forced to admit that it is in all actuality a mask, a performance. As my aunts once aptly called it, my horse and pony show, then you begin to realize what they're seeing isn't real. In all actuality, not only has no progress has been made, but when the mask drops, usually from absolute sheer on every single level exhaustion, all those behaviors, they make you believe that they quote unquote cured with their barbaric treatment of us, did not in actuality provide any growth or progress at all. What it has done is provided us a tool that is also a double-edged sword. There is a psychological toll to having to become, as I called it in the previous episode, the doll. There's a little tiny piece of my soul that I'll be honest, that dies when I have to do it. Some of it is due to the still deeply embedded in me self-loathing that I'm still working through with therapy and psychology, right? It's how I'm able to function without becoming a complete, absolute, well, more of a wreck than I am on a usual day, let's put it that way, right? What they call progress is a mask, nothing more. Because the mask is fake, nothing has actually been accomplished at all. If the JRC is ever forced to face that, they lose all their power. If they lose the illusion, they lose their power. They lose their power, they lose their resources, they lose their money, they lose the protections that have somehow allowed them to continue this monstrosity decade after decade after decade. So that's why they will even sometimes, some of them knowingly, force us to mask, in particular for those testimonial videos that they tote out for every parent to convince them, I can make your kid like this. The reality is, you can't make anyone like that. And certainly not by a particular method, whether it's the JRC's obviously more physically violent version or the currently accepted so-called modern kinder ABA, no progress. Okay? It's fake. None of these interventions are cheap. Places like this rake in millions, some billions every year. That is a lot of money that is being built off of a lie and off of just how well are we able to craft a mask and how good are we going to make ourselves at acting. When we finally realize it's fake, all of that is gone. It's the real portrait of Dorian Gray, if you will. Now, for me, I've always felt like, and there's the real honest beginning. When we finally recognize what's real and what isn't, even if it means going back to square one and doing things properly this time around, starting with the full functional behavioral assessment, we can finally get things going on the right path, the right way, where we don't have to pretend to be something we're not anymore. Nor are we, by being forced to mask, have people make us feel like who we are isn't good enough. Because that's what it is, folks. That is the psychological damage that is caused when things like this forces us to mask. It teaches us to despise who we are as our authentic selves. If we can finally look at things honestly and do things right, the real work can begin. We're going to close out on that, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few we do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time. As always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea do hope you have a good one. I'm going to bury myself in some books, and the wheat thins are calling. I may eat a box and a half. I don't know. It sounds good to me. Enjoy my weird thing with food, where there's a food article where I'll be obsessed with and like glutton myself on, that I somehow keep off of me by being a maniac doing about 4 hours a day of exercise, only to have me like go off of it for an entire year and a half. Bye bye, everyone.